Hello, I'm Jason Liosatos. This is my show, Outside the Box. I'm with an amazing lady who's just come into my studio now, and we're going to have a chat. She is an assistant nurse in Devon, in a hospital in Devon. And I've just done the show with Dr. Mohammed Adil, who's been suspended for telling the truth about the figures for COVID and the empty hospitals and everything, and the massive overreach. I've said it's like murder, really, because they've killed so many people by the false figures. And but anyway, listen, thanks for having a chat with me.
Oh, thank you.
It's fantastic. So you were just telling me now about, and this is an actual assistant nurse in the hospitals. We've just been chatting about the terrible things that have been going on there, and the empty beds, and no one's talking about it. Give me a few experiences of what you've had over this huge, massive overreach and fallacy. This killed so many people because they can't get into hospitals, can they? To have kidney things done, cancer, heart attacks. What you've been hearing?
Okay, so in our hospital, I work in one of the major hospitals in Devon. Lots of wards got shut down. So, for instance, the kidney ward got shut down. So all the staff on the kidney ward still worked, and they got deployed to other areas of the hospital. And these wards that were empty were meant for this onslaught of this disease, COVID, to come in, and they were meant to host all these COVID patients.
So they literally kicked a lot of ill people out of the hospitals, is that right?
Yeah, so they stopped people, for instance, that ward is a surgical ward, so people with kidney problems would come onto that ward and get whatever they needed done. So now that ward's empty, so the patients who have kidney problems are at home. They're not coming into hospital for treatment. So these wards have been empty since about February time. This particular ward's still empty. A lot of the hospital was like a ghost town, and they had selected wards. There was a couple filled up with COVID patients. I myself worked in one of the wards of COVID, and the nurses confirmed on there with me that the only people that actually died with COVID, not of COVID, were patients who already had a heart disease or they had problems breathing, so they already had something going on for them, and they died of that thing that was wrong with them, i.e. heart, and they put COVID
Put COVID down on the death certificate?
Yeah.
Wow, because that's Scott, there's a senator in the US, a Scott, his name is, Scott something, and he actually got sent a letter to actually ask him to do that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what they were doing. None of them died. Anyone who died of COVID never died. No one died in our hospital of actual COVID. They died because COVID, I think, that's my belief, lowered their immune system, so whatever else is going on actually killed them off in the end.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
And the figures, Dr. Adil was saying on the show last night, he's been suspended because of it, and the figures are just astronomically not true, you know?
Yeah.
And is there a buzz around this is what I want to ask you. Surely in that hospital, there's all these empty beds, there's people dying outside of heart attacks and all these things. Surely all the nurses and doctors are saying, what the hell's going on here? Is this a big lie?
No.
Is it the unspoken truth almost?
I don't know whether other people don't speak about it, but I think a lot of people I work with, no disrespect, actually buy into the whole newspaper spill.
They watch BBC every 6 o'clock. Yeah,
they believe the mainstream. So I hear a lot of nurses say, I can't wait for the vaccination to come out.
Oh my God.
I'm just standing there going, oh my God, just like, I can't believe you actually believe this. But a lot of them do actually believe that.
Yeah.
I walk past, we're meant to wear a mask from the minute we get into work, into the hospital doors, we have to wear a mask until we walk out at the end of the day after a shift. And nurses, I work with another nurse, I get breathing problems from wearing a mask. She's getting heart problems from wearing a mask.
And you didn't have breathing problems before, it's just giving you breathing problems.
It's giving me breathing problems.
My God.
Another friend of mine who also does the same job as me is getting headaches, which I believe is part of the carbon dioxide problem that they collect in the mask. The other nurse has been checked out. She's had ECGs. They're seeing if she's having heart trouble due to wearing the mask.
She never has heart problems before this?
No, she never had heart
problems. Oh my God,
before.
this is going to be I think this is going to be endemic. I think this is going to be almost like another whole wave of illnesses that we'll see now because of this.
Yeah, I think so. I think that I believe that, I felt it, she's felt it, someone else is getting headaches, and I actually burnt one of these masks and they melted. I don't know what they're made of, but they're kind of made of some sort of plastic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So what happens now if I've suddenly got a blockage in my... I feel like I've got a blockage in my colon, I'm bleeding, I need to have an endoscopy, because my guest last night was a colon surgeon. What happens then? I mean, is it like, well, no, sorry, you can't come in yet? What happens?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I can't tell you that for fact. I know that everyone who's coming into emergency department at the minute is getting COVID swabbed.
Right.
I do know that one lady that came in, she needed operation on her shoulder because she couldn't move her arm and she was in a lot of pain, and she came up to the ward where I work on and she was sent home, and they said, we can't do this operation on you until this is over.
Right.
So
she's busy in pain, she's having tranquilizers and painkillers.
Yeah.
My God alive. So, and apparently I spoke to the doctor last night on the show, and he was saying that the person who actually invented this test, I forgot what it's called, per PCR test or something like that, whatever it is,
right, yeah,
actually said this should not be used as a definite thing to find a virus, right?
Yeah.
No virus has been identified. I've had Dr. Andrew Kaufman's on my show, been on my show. He said there's no virus has been isolated at all for this. People have even sent things to the authorities and they can't send them back an answer. So what the hell's going on?
There is another thing that I just remembered. Last week I was looking through our emails. We get a kind of staff email come through, and they recommended that the staff log on and download this app. And with this app, anyone in the country can download this app. If you get any of the symptoms that they think are COVID symptoms, i.e. if you get sickness, diarrhoea, heat, a fever, any of those symptoms, and they're even calling it a rash nowadays, then what you do is you download on the app that you've got these symptoms, and the person, whoever it is at the other end running the show, are saying that's COVID, that person's got COVID. So
whatever it is.
So you could eat.
So there's another bloody number, excuse my language, another number to prove the numbers that they falsely have done.
Yeah.
Like
so they'll say that's the second wave. Look, there's like 10,000 people with COVID, and half of them have just eaten a dodgy curry the night before and got sickness, diarrhoea, normal stuff. Yeah. Or got it in the playground, or normal stuff.
Yeah.
Or they've got a cold, or they've got a bit of a fever because their body's just doing that, not COVID. And then I think it's part of the pushing for the second wave.
The second wave, then
whatever comes after that, and then
Yeah.
vaccinations, and then passports, and all the rest of it.
Because I mean, people say, "Oh, well, they're not going to make the vaccinations mandatory." Well, they won't have to. They'll just say you don't have to have it. But if you don't have it, you want to get a job. You won't be able to go to work, will you?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Have they threatened you with vaccinations yet?
Not yet.
Right. Okay. So you can't go to work. You can't get a job. You can't go do your banking. You can't get food in a shop.
Yep.
And another wave, another lockdown. That'll be enough, won't it, for people? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they do want you, the NHS do want you, part of your working there is that you have vaccinations.
Yeah.
And at the minute, it is, the flu, you don't have to have that vaccination. So it's only 20% of the whole staff in our hospital who haven't had that vaccinations. So I don't know who else, I'm one of them. There's another 19, 20%. But this app as well, I was talking to my friend about this app, and she also said, say that you get sickness, you're vomiting one morning, and then the next morning you've got diarrhoea and vomiting, and you text these people and say, through the app, look, I've got vomiting and diarrhoea. How do they put those numbers down? Does that mean you come up as a different number, as a different person, because that's a different day you're logging something different on?
Well, they lose them both, I bet.
Yeah. So you could log on and then you're down as two separate people.
Yeah.
You could have a cold the next week and they go, oh great, we love Mr. Jones because he's COVID 1, 2 and 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're an assistant nurse, you're in there.
Yeah.
And let's just make it clear to the listeners, this isn't just some random lady that I know just talking to you, go on, say something. No, this is a real nurse, right? Now, In your opinion,
Yep.
you've been watching, you've been looking.
Yep.
You're like Dr. Adil. I made a bit of a joke with him last night when he's doing a cancer operation. He's looking for the cancers. He's looking for the problems, and that's what he's doing. He's looking at these numbers, and something's really stinks to high heaven about this, right? In your honest opinion, and no one knows your identity.
Yep.
How bad is this, as far as bullshit's concerned?
Well, in Devon itself, there are minor hospitals, but the three major hospitals, okay, so you've got Plymouth, which is a big city, Exeter, which is a big city, and Torbay, at the minute, have 0 patients with COVID in them.
You hear that, everybody? 0 patients with COVID in them. We've still got a lockdown. There's still people suffering. There's people starving to death in India and Africa. People dying all over the world of depression, and you can't even go and see your family if they're dying. It's very suspicious, in my opinion.
It's outrageous. It's just, we've been sold something, and people go, and even the nurses are just, they just buy into the mainstream. Most of them, unfortunately.
And you don't strike me as this conspiracy theorist nutcase. For me, what I can see, and I've been talking about this for years. Other people that I've spoken to on my show, it looks like it's just going more towards this Orwellian 1984 Brave New World scenario where it's total surveillance, total control of humanity, cashless, microchip in your arm, like Aaron Russo said years ago. Nick Rockefeller told him, we're going to microchip everybody, Aaron. That's what he said to him. And Aaron Russo knew when he spoke about that when he was dying. Do you see that playing out now with another lockdown and people rolling their sleeves up for a vaccination with microchips in them and stuff?
I see control. I see I do believe what you're saying, and I also see control, especially with that new. I don't really read the news, to be quite honest, but that I did see that one with Boris Johnson saying now it's a £3,200 fine if you're not wearing a mask. You know, just that, and you just go, that's control. That's tyranny in the making. That's kind of like, okay, there's people out there who are not obeying what I've said. And he even said, I've got my son here, do you remember that? I'm not going to say your name, but do you remember that when he turned around in one of the news clips ages ago, right at the beginning of the COVID, when they used to come out on their podium with the wings, with the Union Jack wings, and he turned around and said, people must obey me.
Must obey me, yeah.
Obey me, and I remember those words, and we were like, whoa.
Because the thing is, listen, I'm glad I don't know your name, because I would have blurted it out then by accident, but the thing is, I'm delighted to be on the planet now, because I've been banging on about this for years.
Yeah.
We've become used to our slavery.
Yeah.
It's become normal.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, everything's fine, we're really free. No, we're not. It's slavery.
Yeah.
And people are really in pain, and this lockdown's given people a chance. Have you seen that in people where people are suddenly thinking, I'm reflecting on my life. I don't want to do this anymore, and I've just been paid enough to pay my bills and everything like that. It's crazy what's going on, But more and more people are definitely looking at what's going on now in the numbers, and that's why they're closing everyone down off the internet,
Yeah.
How many nurses that you know and doctors that you know have got that look in their eye like something's up here?
Not many, but I did walk past one guy the other night who was also does the same job as me. I was walking down the hospital corridor. We're meant to wear these masks, and the corridor was empty, so I was dip the mask whenever it's empty. Yeah. And I saw this other guy, same uniform as me, coming up towards me. He didn't have a mask on even. We just looked at each other and just gave the biggest grin. I was like, oh, I'm really glad that there is someone else that's just not obeying. Yeah. Obey.
And I suppose if there's